What if a family bond was so powerful, so intense, that not even death could break it? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. This is a true story, and it's all about duty, regret, and, yeah, the supernatural. So, at the very core of this whole thing is one single, incredibly powerful emotion: regret. And we're not talking about a little bit of regret. We're talking about 20 long years of it. You know the kind that just sinks deep into your bones and sits there, quietly building up until it just has to explode, usually when it's way, way too late. But here's the twist. What if too late isn't actually the end of the story? What happens when a spirit, still tied to this world by all that unfinished business, decides to come back? Well, for the family in our story, that question, it's about to get answered in the most terrifying way possible. All right, so our story begins with a return after 20 years. We're introduced to the Singh family. Now, they've been pulled back to their old family village in Bhopal after being away for 2 whole decades. And this is no happy reunion. They're back for a funeral, stepping back into a place that feels like it's been frozen in time, but you can just feel the weight of all that unspoken history in the air. Okay, so let's meet our main guy, Sujay Singh. By all accounts, he's a huge success. He's the guy who left his tiny village, made it big in the city, and basically promised himself he'd never, ever go back. But life has other plans, right? The death of his father, Vijay Singh, forces him to break that promise. So now he's back, with his wife Sumin and their teenage son Vicky, and he's staring right at the past he tried so desperately to leave behind. And you can just imagine it, right? He's standing there at his own father's funeral, and bam, the weight of those 20 years just comes crashing down on him. It's more than just sadness. It's this deep, soul-crushing regret for all that lost time. And it all boils down to this one thought. Man, I just wish I'd come back to see him just once while he was still alive. And that feeling, that's the spark that's going to light this entire crazy fire. So now we get to the first meeting with grandfather. And let me tell you, it is a terrifying encounter. It's their first night back in the old house, and the air is just thick with grief and exhaustion. But for the teenage son, Vicky, sleep just isn't happening. And in that heavy, dead silence of the night, something, or someone, is about to make its move. Suddenly, a voice, really faint, just cuts right through the darkness. It's calling his name. Vicky! At first, he just shakes it off. He figures it's just his mind playing tricks on him after such a long, emotional day. But then it comes again, a little louder this time, a little more persistent, a little too real. So he gets up, creeps over to the window, and slowly he pulls back the curtain. And standing there, outside in the dark, is an old man. He looks frail, with a stooped back, white hair, holding a wooden cane. It's a sight that's somehow familiar, and at the same time, completely and utterly impossible. And this is where your brain just short-circuits. Because Vicky's never actually met his grandfather, not in person, but he knows that face. He's seen it in photos his whole life. And the face staring back at him from the darkness, there is absolutely no doubt about it. It's the face of the man they just cremated hours ago. I mean, can you even imagine? The shock is just too much. His entire reality just shatters in that 1 second. He lets out this one sharp scream that just rips through the quiet house, and then he's out. He faints, collapses right there on the floor. The visitor, it's safe to say, has made an entrance. This brings us to Vicky's changing behavior. I mean, a seriously unsettling transformation. Now, when Vicky finally comes to, of course his parents try to explain it away. It was a nightmare, son, you're just grieving. But they can't keep that up for long, because it quickly becomes clear that Vicky isn't just traumatized. No, something inside him is fundamentally changing. He just stops acting like a teenager. Instead, he starts acting like an old man from a totally different time. He'll stand with his hands clasped behind his back, just staring. He tastes his food like he's judging it. He walks around the village like he's lived there his whole life, which is impossible. But the weirdest thing, he suddenly has this violent, passionate hatred for okra. Now, get this. His grandfather hated okra, but Vicky? Vicky had always loved it. So just look at the difference. The modern phone-addicted teenager he was, gone. Poof. In his place is someone who seems to be walking around, living out someone else's memories. The kid who loved okra now literally spits it out like it's poison. Every single one of these little actions is just another piece of the puzzle, and it's all building a terrifying picture. Something is seriously, deeply wrong with their son. This is where we learn about the spirit's unfulfilled love. The family is, as you can imagine, completely freaked out. They're out of ideas. So they do what people in their situation often do. They go see a local holy man, a Baba. They're hoping for some kind of logical, rational answer. But what they're about to hear is going to blow their minds completely.
And this holy man, he's the real deal. Before they can even finish telling him the story, he knows. He just knows what's going on. He tells them, in a house where relationships are left broken and unfulfilled, the spirit can't leave. It remains bound to that place. And he makes it clear this isn't about some angry ghost looking for revenge. No, this is about something much, much more powerful. Unfinished business. So let's be super clear about this. The thing that's inside Vicky, it's not some evil demon. It's his grandfather. It's the spirit of a father who died heartbroken, just filled with regret over that 20-year separation from his son. And now he's trying to live out the life he missed, the only way he can, through his grandson. The solution here isn't to fight it. It's not some Hollywood exorcism. It's acceptance. The Baba gives them very specific instructions. For the next few days, leading up to the 13th day funeral ritual, which is like the official end of the mourning period, they have to do one thing: treat Vicky as if he is the grandfather. They have to welcome the spirit into their home, cook for him, basically give him the welcome he never got in life. And that brings us to the final night, the 13th day, when this 20-year burden is hopefully going to be lifted. And so the family does it. They completely transform their home. It's no longer a house of mourning. It's a house of welcoming. They're cooking all of Vijay Singh's favorite dishes. They're decorating the place like it's a festival. Everything is building towards this one, final, incredibly important night. So on the morning of that 13th day, the day of the final ritual, Sujay just breaks. He can't keep it inside anymore. He goes and sits in front of Vicky, who's all dressed up in these traditional clothes, looking so calm and so old. And Sujay just lets it all out. He spills his guts, confesses his deepest, darkest regret, that he chose his business over his father, that he left him all alone for 2 decades. And the voice that answers him, it's not Vicky's. It's deeper, steadier. It's his father's voice coming out of his son's mouth. And it gives Sujay the one thing he's been dying to hear: forgiveness. The voice says, "I am your father, and a father's job is to forgive." The spirit tells him that he's been given a wonderful grandson, and really, that's all he ever wanted. And in that moment, as Sujay embraces his son, or really his father and his son's body, this brilliant, bright light just fills the entire room. And just like that, Vicky collapses again. The connection is severed. The spirit got what it came for: the apology, the chance to give forgiveness, and now it's finally at peace. All right, so now we have the farewell and peace. This is closure for both the living and the dead. What comes next is just quiet. The crazy supernatural storm has passed, and in its place, there's this incredible feeling of calm and resolution for the entire family. And the aftermath? Well, Vicky wakes up and he doesn't remember a single thing. He's back to being a normal teenager glued to his phone. The final funeral rituals go off without a hitch. And his mom, Suman, she's crying. But this time, they're not tears of fear. They're tears of contentment. The family, which was so broken, has finally been healed. And Vijay Singh's spirit, its business finally taken care of, has moved on for good. You know, a story like this really makes you think. It suggests that maybe our most powerful emotions, like love and especially regret, they don't just disappear when we die. Maybe they stick around, creating these echoes that can reach out and touch the people we leave behind. And it leaves you with one final, kind of unsettling question to chew on. If you had unfinished business, how far would you be willing to go to finally find your peace?